Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 45. SS Class Gatekeeper. Part 1. Ouch. Ha Hyun-gang, the gatekeeper's captain, who was thrown out by an unknown force, looked at Chen Yo-won, who suddenly appeared in front of him. What was it? An unknown force suddenly blew them away. He then realized that the unknown force was energy. It was something entirely related to the Murim people, called internal energy. Murim? However, this man seemed very different from the other Murim people he knew. He was exuding an overwhelming sense of intimidation, which he felt only in gate battles. Thud. Even the other gatekeepers took fighting stances as their eyes focused on one person. Ancestor. Chairman Chen Yu-jang gazed at Chen Yo-won's back. Chen Yo-won didn't turn and clicked his tongue while saying, "TCH, since when did the cult start paying people? Since when did it start to get pushed aside by bizarre people who aren't even warriors?" Chen Yu-jang couldn't think of an answer. Rather, he felt terrible. In the Black Sky Company's old days, the Sky Demon Order dominated Murim and was untouched even by the government. Chen Yu-jang wanted to bring back those days too. But this isn't the time where one great warrior can change everything. The words didn't come out. It was because he strongly sympathized with the saying, being weak is a sin. That was when someone shouted, "Chairman Yong!" It was Baek Jin-chong. He was shouting with an angry face. "Didn't we say that the search had to be done? Are you going against the National Guard?" It was Baek Jin-chong's last warning. Actually, that last warning wasn't necessary, but since he didn't want the company funds to be halted, he tried to play it low. "Please get out of our way. Please. The SS Class Gatekeeper isn't from Jinan City, nor is she someone that I can stop." He wanted to say it out loud, but he couldn't. Chen Yu-jang couldn't hide his shock. Despite receiving permission from the city hall, it was overrun by the National Guard. That meant all the money they kept giving to create contacts was all for nothing. The SS Class Keeper, Yu So-hwa, spoke to Baek Jin-chong, who was giving warnings. "Major. Why yes? They have already interfered with the execution of official duties. Arrest them." "Shut." Baek Jin-chong shut his mouth at her resolute command. It seemed like leading a conversation was impossible. Besides, since the Yongchen group was made of Murim warriors, they wouldn't easily let themselves get arrested. "Pack." Baek Jin-chong raised his hand and shouted, "Squad 1 and 2. Get ready to fire. Ready to fire." At his command, 20 National Guards took out their guns and aimed them all at Chen Yo-won, Chen Yu-jang, and the fallen company guards. "Chairman Yong. Please don't resist. If you move even a little, we will shoot." "Tack." Chen Yo-won took a step ahead before he could even finish speaking. Shit. Now there was nothing else he could do. It was because he had already warned them, and Yu So-hwa was standing right beside him. Baek Jin-chong, who had to save his face, shouted, "Fire!" As soon as the command fell, all the 20 soldiers pulled the trigger at once. Ta-ta-ta-tack. Light flashed from the muzzles as the bullets were fired. The soldiers' expressions began to change as they shot at Chen Yo-won. What is this? Every time they fired, it felt like they were seeing dots. Confused, the soldiers stopped shooting, only to be shocked at what they were seeing. What the hell is this? Bullets? Surprisingly, the bullets didn't travel more than 3 meters and were suspended in midair. It was as if an unseen wall had stopped them. The bullets were spinning midair, and all the officers couldn't help but be flustered. How can this be? Chen Yo-won answered them. Go back. Chen Yo-won waved his hand lightly. The bullets, floating midair, turned back. Eik. Avoid. However, as the distance was short, the soldiers couldn't escape. It was then. Pop-pop-pack. Bullets that had to fly back to their owners got stuck to the ground. Shocked, the soldiers fell back and looked at the scene with startled eyes. Hello. Chen Yuan's eyes shone. The one who blocked the bullet was none other than the SS Keeper. The one called Gravity Witch. She dropped the bullets to the floor with the force of gravity. Soldiers fall back. This isn't a place where normal people can step in. Why yes. She asked Baek Jin-chong to call back the soldiers and spoke to Ha Hyun-gang, the gatekeepers' captain. Force him down. The gatekeepers were bewildered at her order. Everyone witnessed what had just happened. Hundreds of bullets stopped in midair. They knew that fighting that monster wouldn't be an easy task. One of them, a B-class keeper with a Murim background, spoke. At that level. That warrior could be above the tiger level. It isn't something that B and C-class keepers can fight. Tiger level. A level based on the zodiac calendar. The Murim Association graded Murim people according to their internal energy and skills. The other organizations graded them according to the levels of zodiac deities. Divine Master level, Rat level. End of Supreme Master level, Ox level. Beginning of Supreme Master level, Tiger level. End of Superior Master level, Rabbit level. Beginning of Superior Master level, Dragon level. End of Grand Master level, Snake level. Beginning of Grand Master level, Horse level. End of Master level, Goat level. Beginning of Master level, Monkey level. First-rate warrior, Rooster level. Second-rate warrior, Dog level. Third-rate warrior, Pig level. It was the standard used in the current times. The higher one went, the fewer the number of warriors would be. And according to the association, there was currently no Rat level, Divine Master level, warrior in the world. However, there was a rumor that the chairman of the Murim Association, one of the 5 great warriors of the current Murim, has risen to that level. Of course, it hasn't been officially confirmed. An S-class keeper can only face a rabbit face. One of the gatekeepers was a B-class and a super master level in Murim. He was the leader of a gatekeeper platoon, but even he didn't want to deal with a monster who could stop bullets. These Murim people. Ha Hyun-gang shook his head. He hated how Murim people had a habit of figuring out the opponent's skills before fighting. And if they deem the opponent superior, they don't think it is necessary to fight. Get out, you cowards. Captain. I don't want to hear it. Face the enemy with the Alpha class formation. Roger. The Alpha class formation. It was a formation made to deal with Alpha class entities. A-class or higher keepers could deal with the Alphas by themselves depending on the hazard level, but it was difficult to deal with Alphas over B-class or higher. Formation B. At the signal, the keepers, accustomed to the formation, immediately moved and ran towards Chen Yuan from different directions. As members of the same team, they were all trained to disperse right away. With this formation, we can even take down an A-class Alpha. No matter how good you are nothing in front of an A-class Alpha. SRRNG. Ha Hyun-gang pulled out 2 swords from his waist. He jumped a couple of times. Shoo! His figure vanished as he stepped into the air. As an A-class gatekeeper, he had the ability of invisibility and instant acceleration. This is quite annoying. As he saw him vanish, Chen Yujing frowned. Since they were in the same city, he saw the man use the ability a few times. Being invisible wasn't the problem. Be careful. Ancestor. When the man disappears, his energy cannot be traced. From his shadow to his breathing, everything got completely erased. It was something which would normally be impossible to do, but these gatekeepers had such problematic abilities. Dealing with them was never easy. Even if we attack from all directions, that guy has the ability to avoid it. instant acceleration ability that could be compared to a superior master-level warrior's. Besides, the synergy between invisibility and acceleration was the best. If one wasn't careful, they could get knives stuck in their body. You shouldn't stand still. You need to keep moving so that he doesn't get too close to you. Chen Yujing kept informing Chen Yuan. Shoo. Ha. Late. Ha Hyungang smiled. He was invisible and was already behind Chen Yuan. Tatak. Besides, the keepers who entered the formation tried to attack him. Now, Ha Hyungang was already aiming his knife at Chen Yuan's back. It was then. These bugs are bothersome. Chen Yuan turned his palm and lowered it. And thud. 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 Yuk. My. B-body. Even before they could show their abilities, the keepers fell on their knees, being painfully suppressed. Chen Yuan had the ability to make even Supreme Masters immobile. Gu. As Chen Yuan increased his energy, the people with mind-related abilities fell down as well. Thud. Crack. Yuck. Save. As they were pressed hard against the ground, they could feel their bones breaking. Chen Yuan didn't even bother when they started to scream their lungs out. At that time, Chen Yuan pretended to grab something with his left hand. It was then. 1. Blood suddenly came out from the air. Not only blood, but also flesh scattered all over the place. A gruesome spectacle that made a chill run down the spines. And no way. The keeper's eyes went wide as they struggled on the ground. There was something crumbled up like a ball on the floor. A mixture of flesh, blood, and what seemed to be the remains of Ha Hyungang's clothes. You must have thought that since you couldn't be seen, you couldn't be found. Chen Yuan shook his head. The floor was soaked with the blood of the dead Ha Hyungang. Amazing. Chen Yujing couldn't help but feel amazed. Against Chen Yuan, the overpowered invisibility turned useless. Monster. He is a monster. The gatekeepers, who acknowledged the B-class keeper's words, shouted. However, it was too late. Now it's your time. Chen Yuan raised the energy even more. It was then. Thud. The ground under Chen Yuan's feet cracked. It was like something tremendous was crushing down on him. You are a dangerous person. Finally, the SS-class gatekeeper, Yu Sowa, the gravity witch, made her move. Realizing that the other keepers could do nothing, she decided to take the lead. If he is higher than the beginning of the Supreme Master level, I have to get serious. The force of gravity she applied now was incomparable to the one she used to subdue Huan Miang-o. If you don't want to die, surrender. Yu Sowa looked at Chen Yuan with arrogant eyes. She intended to crush and kill Chen Yuan if he didn't yield. Do you think that you will be able to withstand a stronger force? She reached out and pushed further. And thud. The ground sank more than 1 meter deeper. The exerted force was doubled. However, Chen Yuan still didn't kneel. More. She started increasing it more. At that moment, something unbelievable happened. Tack. Chen Yuan took a step ahead. With a straight back and straight knees, he seemed to be totally unaffected by the gravity. Tack. He continued to walk. Too casually. So what is gravity? No way. How is he unaffected? The poker face she kept wearing shook. If an alpha entity was to be put under that kind of pressure, they would have been crushed. As confusion started to appear on her face, Chen Yuan said, "On your knees." What? It was then. Thud. Quack. Her knees crushed onto the floor. Chapter 46. SS Class Gatekeeper. Part 2. I I am on my knees? Yu So-wa's eyes widened. The humiliation was much greater than the pain. After becoming an SS-class gatekeeper and earning the title of Gravity Witch, she believed that no person could ever stand in front of her. But this man had just made her kneel. It is an interesting ability, but you will have to pay the price for your actions. Chen Youwen reached out to her. At that time, Yu So-wa, who was on her knees, bowed her head and said, I was at fault. Fault? I don't need to conserve my power anymore because you aren't human. Pack. With those words, she stretched out her arms to the side. Huh? Chen Youwen felt something he had never experienced before. He felt no weight on his body. His feet rose from the ground. Whoa. It wasn't just Chen Youwen. Not only him, but everyone around him was floating. Anything on the ground within a 300-meter radius floated in the air, as if the place had fallen into a state of weightlessness. Whoa. See Car 2. The soldiers of the National Guard were confused as they looked at the floating cars. I knew that it wasn't easy to take her down. Chen Yujing, who was also floating in the air, frowned as he looked at Yu So-wa. She was an SS-class gatekeeper. The confrontation had to be explosive, like the one between two superhumans. Ancestor. He knew Chen Youwen's strength, but he was worried. Contrary to his concerns, Chen Youwen seemed to be interested. He was curious about this phenomenon he had never experienced before. This is fun. Don't think that I earned the Gravity Witch title just with the ability of increasing the gravity. So what? Before he could finish his words, Yu So-wa reached out to Chen Youwen. Shoo! That was the moment. Chen Youwen's body soared into the air. In an instant, his body rose to around 200 meters off the ground. With a smile on her face, she mumbled. In zero gravity, I am the only one who can control your movements. From now on, there is nothing you can do in this space. Gravity field. Her secret ability to control all gravity within 300-meter radius. Her brain activity was so great that she could use it for 5 minutes straight, and during that time, all gravity in that field was under her control. A strong gravitational force is in the sky. I know. Chen Youwen responded to Nano's warning. He thought that she could only exert her power on the ground, but she seemed able to manipulate gravity anywhere. What was more annoying was that the gravity around him was blocking the energy. I need to deal with her soon. Fat. Chen Youwen kicked the air around and tried to move towards the woman. Weak. At that moment, his body was swept to the left. The position of the field seemed to have changed. So tricky. While his body was being swept away, Chen Youwen sprinted in the air again using energy and tried to move in the opposite direction. He then tried to move at greater speed. The gravity wasn't fixed, but constantly changing, which interfered with Chen Youwen's movements. You think I'll let you adapt? Yu So-wa changed the gravitational field around Chen Youwen. Thanks to that, Chen Youwen's body kept moving around, unable to move in a certain direction. Shoo! Shoo! Due to that, Chen Youwen was in a situation where it was harder to move. Woo! Chen Youwen raised sword chi in his hand. As his body was being swept away, he thought of something else. Then this one. Chuck! Chen Youwen directed the sword chi at Yu So-wa. At that moment, the sword chi, which seemed to fly in a straight line, bent and flew away. The path of the sword chi was changed? He only tried it out of curiosity, but it was a shock. He didn't know that gravity could affect that too. It was then. Swoosh! An RV flew towards Chen Youwen. Another gravitation field was formed in the vicinity of the user. He was being pushed to the left as the RV came for him. You are really annoying. Chen Youwen waved his hand at the incoming RV. CHH. With a sharp sound, the RV was split in half. But the split RV still came for Chen Yuan. How? Pang! Chen Yuan sprinted into the air and avoided it. At that, the woman on the ground laughed. You think you can avoid it so easily? The RV car turned and flew towards Chen Yuan again. Huh? Chen Yuan was shocked. Phut. Again, Chen Yuan sprinted through the air and avoided the split RV. But there was a problem. There wasn't just one RV in the air. 6 RVs flew in the direction of Chen Yuan to crush him. Besides, the gravitational field has changed. As soon as he tried to get away, the field position would change, making it impossible to move. Oh. This is an SS-class gatekeeper. The National Guards and the wounded gatekeepers cheered. The gravitational field kept changing at one individual's will. This woman seemed capable enough to stand on top of the gatekeepers. I will crush you to death. She smiled. No matter how much the cars were split and damaged, they would always go for Chen Yuan. An ancestor? Bewildered, Chen Yujiang shouted. It was then. Wuong. What? The moment the RV cars were about to crush Chen Yuan, the entire space rumbled. It looked as if the space itself was warped. Doo-doo-duck. The RVs suddenly shattered. Bang! The destroyed RVs left no debris as they turned into dust. What just happened? Yu Sohua couldn't understand it. If her eyes weren't playing tricks on her, then space seemed to be twisted for a second. Unable to withstand the pressure, the RVs were destroyed. It was an embarrassing moment for her. Goo. Yuk. Thud. 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 Everything that was floating in the air suddenly fell down. The floating people crushed into the floor as if a force was exerted on them. Ack. Thud. The gravity which Yu Sohua was no exception. Her own gravity had shockingly disappeared, and she was forced to kneel again. Terrified, she looked around. At first, she thought she had lost her control over gravity, but that wasn't the case. And no way. Is he weighing down on the entire gravity field itself? She had an ability beyond human comprehension, but the power she was feeling right now seemed absurd. She never once dreamed that such a thing could happen. Instead of trying to escape the gravity field, he crushed it. Is he even human? Even an A-class alpha entity wouldn't be able to do such things. The man had to be an S-class or a special hazard entity. Tack. Chen Yuan descended to the ground. Looking at the terrified woman, he said, "You are pretty good. You made use of nature's energy." Nature's energy. Chen Yuan, who reached the heavenly master level, could understand the flow of energy in nature. When one had reached divine master level, one would attain the highest state of an enhanced human body, and the heavenly master level would allow one to handle nature's energy. The 300-meter radius gravity field was a result of controlling nature's energy. I didn't think that I would have to use nature's energy. Chen Yuan had never used more than 20% of his abilities against anyone except Blade God. But for the first time, he dealt with nature's energy. Chen Yuan sincerely acknowledged the woman. Even a supreme master wouldn't be able to stand as this woman's opponent. Even if they used sword chi, the woman could freely change the gravity field, and the attack would never reach her. It would be possible for a divine master to deal with her using invisible swords. This was how annoying Yu Sohwa's gravity field was. Tack. Chen Yuan approached her. Monster. Having completely lost her will to his overwhelming abilities, she tried to move back. However, being suppressed, she couldn't move. With every step Chen Yuan took, she felt fear rise inside of her. Don't come. She tried to use gravity once again. Chen Yuan swung his sword at her. Chuck. Quack. The right arm of the woman, who was trying to control gravity, was cut. She cried as blood gushed out of her mouth. Even though such a beautiful woman was suffering in pain, Chen Yuan didn't blink and kept his cold look. He isn't human. Every person who was watching that was speechless. Grab. Atch. Chen Yuan grabbed her by the neck. Looking at Chen Yuan, who seemed to have grown colder, she couldn't utter anything. No words could leave her mouth. Until Chen Yuan said, "I was going to kill you, but I changed my mind." At that moment, Chen Yuan's fingers pierced her neck. As an SS class keeper, she had excellent abilities and could feel an unknown material coming into her body. What did you put in my body?" As she started to lose her mind, Chen Yuan spoke with a smile. "Something to turn you into a useful dog." At Chen Yuan's words, Yu Sowa's face turned white.